We're gonna talk a little bit about clarinet accessories. There are several things that you need, such as a ligature, reed case, swab to clean your instrument, grease for greasing the cork, and cigarette paper, not necessarily, but do need it when your clarinet gets a little bit watery. I'm gonna start with showing you reed case. This is a reed case. It holds 6 reeds, and I particularly like this case. It's made by Vendoran. It's humidified, it keeps your reeds moistured, and it has numbers on spot 1, spot 2, spot 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you know whenever you have a good reed, you put in spot 1, the okay reed you put in spot 2, and that way you remember exactly where your good reeds and not so good reeds, or your practice reeds versus your concert reeds. I strongly recommend this case. It's pretty affordable. It's about $25 or $30. Here we have a ligature. It's made by Vendoran as well. You can see that I use a lot of Vendoran products. This particular ligature is a leather ligature, and you have leather and you have metal ligatures. I prefer both of them, depends on what piece you're playing. Leather ligatures tend to give you a bit more warmth in the sound, and metal ligatures tend to be a little bit more pinchy on the sound and give a little bit more kind of a concentrated tone. But either of them are fine. There are many, many ligatures for sale, different companies. You can go crazy with all the choices you have, but I prefer to stay with Vendoran, very reliable products. Whenever you buy a ligature, it comes with a mouthpiece cap. So you get a cap that goes on top of your ligature. So whenever you're not playing or taking a rest, you put a mouthpiece cap on your ligature, and that protects your reed from getting dried out. Now we have a cork grease. You use it to put it on the tenons between your joints that you put clarinet together, which we'll talk later. Sometimes due to weather changes, your instrument corks get dry or wet. Whenever it gets too dry, you got to put cork grease that protects the cork that you have on your joints, and whenever you put the joints together, it gets better result and better smoothness. Very important to have in this climate. Next thing we have is a swab. Usually when you buy your clarinet, it comes with a swab, or you can make your own. I used to make my own swab because I couldn't find good swabs back where I lived before. This is also a Vendoran swab. After you practice, you should swab your instrument because it gets moist and you get all your saliva, so this protects it from getting it wet and protects it from getting cracked if you have a wooden instrument. Then we have a cigarette paper. Whenever you play more than 30-40 minutes, your clarinet tends to get very moist and the water gets into the tone holes, and sometimes it's the quickest way to get it out is by putting cigarette paper into the tone hole and close the key rather than swabbing. Sometimes in between the solos, there's not enough time to swab the horn, so you just stick this. Very helpful tool to have. And then here we have Q-tips. I use it to clean the mouthpiece, maybe once in 2 weeks. Just use one tip and clean the mouthpiece within its inside bores. We have a mouthpiece patch. Mouthpiece patch is personal preference, different thickness of mouthpiece patches. This is the thickest you can have, and then there's a thin version that you can get. I prefer thick version, and everyone will have different preferences. Depends on your embouchure and your teeth structure. This you put on a mouthpiece to protect the mouthpiece from getting scratched. It's just a little sticker kind of thing. There are many companies that produce this. When I was starting to play clarinet, I just used duct tape, and that worked as well. And then lastly, we have a little material that also comes with your clarinet when you buy it. It's a special material that polishes your keys. Over time, the keys get a little dusty or not as shiny, so you use this material to just kind of clean it up and get it back to its good looking shape.